And now we head overseas to an election you probably didn't even know was happening.
Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has hung on to power after a snap election, but he's fallen short of his goal for a majority government. Mr Trudeau had gambled on an early election to capitalise on his handling of the pandemic.
The Prime Minister triggered the vote last month, just 2 years into his 4-year term, saying he needed to ensure voters approved of his Liberal government's pandemic recovery plan.
The government and indeed Parliament needs an opportunity to get a mandate from Canadians.
Yes, Justin Trudeau wanted a mandate, and I think I know a few people who wouldn't mind a mandate with Justin Trudeau as well, if you know what I mean. Now, just a reminder for Australians listening that in Canada, the Liberal Party is their centre-left party. So they're like our Labor Party, except with a charismatic leader, and they win elections. Now, Trudeau's been in power since 2015, and he tried to capitalise on Canada's high vaccination rates and low case numbers over the summer by calling an election 2 years into a 4-year term, which, unsurprisingly, resulted in almost the exact same result in terms of seat numbers as he had before. Good job. But now with Delta ripping through the unvaccinated in Canada and lockdowns back on the cards, Trudeau declared this mid-pandemic election would help end the pandemic.
You could have done it in 6 months. There was nothing pressing, was there?
Climate change is pressing. Ending this pandemic is pressing, and that means vaccine mandates now, not 6 months from now.
Could it not have waited a few months, Mr. Trudeau?
I know you want to go harder and faster on vaccinations. I know you want to go harder and faster on climate change.
Yes, not sure why they didn't go with harder and faster Trudeau 2021 as their election slogan, but anyway. So yes, the surfy-looking PM decided to surf a fourth wave of COVID with this election campaign, but don't worry, they did take steps to ensure that election day would be COVID safe.
Polling stations will have COVID measures, including a new pencil for every voter.
You hear that? Every single voter gets a free pencil. Well, shouldn't that be construed as voter bribery? I mean, who among us wouldn't queue for 2 hours, walk into the polls, get their free pencil and then just leave? Or at the very least feel obliged to vote for the most pro-pencil party on the ballot. This pencil barreling really has to stop, Canada. Socialism gone wild. First the free healthcare, then the free pencils. When will it end? But anyways, pandemic incumbency aside, what actual policies helped win the election for Trudeau and the Liberals? Well, here's their big one that probably helped.
We'll keep fighting for $10 a day childcare.
Childcare costs are way too expensive across the country. We're going to get those down to $10 a day.
Yes, $10 a day childcare, all part of Trudeau's everyone have more sex agenda. Hang on, maybe harder and faster should have been his election slogan after all. But aside from that, the other big policy that defined the Trudeau campaign was vaccine mandates.
We'll ensure that everyone 12 or older on a plane or train is fully vaccinated. And we intend to ensure that the public service gets vaccinated, that anyone on a plane or a train be fully vaccinated.
Yes, Trudeau wanted a mandate for his mandates. Indeed, having vaccine mandates for everyone on planes and trains meant that if they were to make an anti-vax remake of the classic 1980s Steve Martin and John Candy movie, it would just be called And Automobiles. Seriously though, the pandemic resulted in a very different feeling election campaign, meaning it lacked large-scale indoor events, and it also featured things like telephone town halls, virtual rallies, and also this.
Over the next few weeks, I'll be crisscrossing the country, talking with Canadians. While I'm out there, I'm also going to be checking my texts. My number is 613-777-2039, so text me.
Yeah, Trudeau gave out his phone number. I'm sure a few of those texts were about mandates, if you know what I mean. But also, I'm guessing some of them were probably a bit harsh, judging by some of the reactions he got on the campaign trail.
Anti-vaccine protesters yelling and swearing.
Trudeau! Trudeau! Arrest Trudeau! Arrest Trudeau! Lock him up! Lock him up! You go to hell!
And in a related story, all those protesters have now been offered jobs in the Melbourne construction industry. And yes, despite the loud protesters, Trudeau tried to keep campaigning.
While the crowd blared car alarms and shouted profanities, the Liberal leader pressed on with a message about climate change.
Sirens in the background may remind us that this is a climate emergency.
Wow, what a pro. You can even imagine what he would have been like if, say, an ice cream truck went by. I bet he would have been like, that Mr. Softy van music reminds us that our ice caps are getting softer every day. Yummy ice cream. That's my Justin Trudeau impression, please. Hold your applause. It wasn't all flawless rhetoric on the campaign trail for Trudeau. Like, for example, at the English language debate, when he was asked about the failures in nursing homes during the pandemic, I think he definitely lost the vote of one woman.
What if tomorrow you had to place a family member in a long-term care facility? Would you do it? Beginning with you, Mr. Trudeau, Mr. O'Toole, Mr. Blanchet, you may jump in.
Tomorrow is my mum's 73rd birthday, so that is certainly something we're reflecting on, but she's doing wonderfully right now. We won't have to make that decision right now. Don't worry, Mum.
Well, that's reassuring. Yeah, Trudeau's mum, they're not coming to take you away to the old folks' home just yet. I'd be locking my door if I was you from now on. Trudeau, of course, wasn't the only one running. It's not like Russia, after all. And Canada is very much a multi-party system, with the Liberals facing off against the Conservatives, the left-wing NDP, the Greens, the French Nationalist Bloc Québécois, and the new right-wing populists, the People's Party of Canada. And it led to some very constructive exchanges on the debate stage, like this one.
All right, Mr. Singh, Mr. Trudeau, then Ms. Paul, then Mr. Blanchet.
I don't accept that, first of all. I don't accept that at all. We've got a bold
hold on, Ms. Paul.
and a strong plan.
Mr. Singh, thank you very much.
Yes, coming fourth there again this election was the lefty New Democrats led by Jagmeet Singh. And it's easy to see why he got the endorsement of American Democratic Socialist Bernie Sanders with talk like this.
We believe that billionaires should pay their fair share. We should end the loopholes and the offshore tax havens that mean billions of dollars are lost, that we are not able to invest in people. That will tax 1% on everything above 10 million. So someone's got $20 million in fortune, we'd put a 1% tax on the fortune of 10 million of that.
So
yeah, not sure I'd trust him to handle my taxes though. He can't even add up properly.
You know, if I said to you, what is 1 and 1? Obviously we'd all say 2. But really, when two people come together, when they work together, and when we all come together, it's not just 2. It's not 1 and 1 isn't 2. 1 and 1 is actually 11.
This is probably why people say the left can't be trusted to balance the budget, you know what I'm saying? Yes, very much the favoured candidate amongst millennials for his TikToking and twitching. Jagmeet Singh, though, is still a shrewd and hypocritical politician. Watch here as Singh, a turban-wearing Sikh, tiptoes around condemning a bill in Quebec that would have banned public servants from wearing religious symbols like, turbans and burqas, because he seems to clearly care more about kowtowing to a province he could potentially win some seats in than speaking up against discrimination, against literally himself.
If you were in Quebec, you would not be able to be a public prosecutor, even a teacher. The Liberals are at least open to intervening in a legal challenge. Are you?
Well, what I've said about this bill is that it's being fought right now in court. It's a bill that's divisive, and I don't support those type of bills.
But the question was very direct, Mr. Singh. Will you intervene? Are you at least open to intervening, or are you not?
Well, my position is it's being fought in court right now, and it's important that it's fought in court.
Is it racist?
Looking for calling people racist or labeling things as racist is less important to me than actually getting the results.
And he didn't even get the results he wanted because the NDP didn't pick up any additional seats in Quebec. Good job. Of course, the main opponent for Trudeau's Liberals are the Conservative Party, which are like our Liberal Party here. And they were a bit of an unknown. I mean, people in the street didn't even know the name of who the leader was.
And then we've got the Conservative, and he's really not known.
Yeah, well, I've noticed you're not using his name.
No, I can't even think of it.
So the Conservative leader is a guy named Erin O'Toole, and the reason nobody knows his name is because he only became opposition leader in August of last year. And there's been a bit going on. O'Toole himself even played up his own anonymity.
I'm Erin O'Toole. If you don't know me, I'm the leader of Canada's Conservatives. And I went from being that backbench person that nobody heard of. People still don't know me that well.
Yes, O'Toole himself was so unknown that even the people protesting him on the campaign trail didn't know his name.
Congratulations, Mr. White Man!
Yes, amazingly, that insult also works against any Conservative politician here in Australia. And in terms of some of his policies and statements on the campaign trail that O'Toole ran on, well, have a listen to what he had to say here. And bear in mind, this is the leader of the right-wing Conservative Party. I repeat, right-wing Conservative Party.
I'm a pro-choice ally to the LGBTQ community.
We will maintain the ban on assault weapons.
Pricing carbon to meet our Paris targets. We're going to ban for 2 years foreign buying by non-residents.
And make sure that abortion services are available from one coast, from one ocean to the other.
One of my first votes in my first 4 or 5 months was on extending human rights protections to gender identity and the trans community.
And advance economic reconciliation with First Nations.
Yes, that's right. In Canada, the right-wing party is more left-wing than the Australian left-wing parties will ever be. I mean, here you have Erin O'Toole in favour of a carbon tax, and I can't even find the Greens mentioning a carbon tax on their website. What kind of bizarro country is that? There was one policy of O'Toole's that confused me, though.
Tough anti-corruption laws.
Finally, a politician has vowed to clean up the corrupt country of Canada. What a den of corruption that failed state is. I mean, corruption is so rife there. You know, the entire time I lived there, I never won a single time on the Tim Hortons roll up the rim game. That country is rigged. Rigged, I tells ya. But O'Toole's big election blunder turned out to be his opposition to vaccine mandates.
Erin O'Toole's Conservatives say forcing people to accept vaccines to keep their jobs is a step too far.
What we need to do is respect that people will make their personal health decisions.
We do feel that Canadians have the right to make their own health care decisions.
What is the big deal with telling people that they can't do everything they want if they're not vaccinated?
Because we have to respect people making the decision for themselves.
In fact, O'Toole didn't even mandate his own candidates and volunteers to get vaccinated, something Trudeau viciously jumped on.
The one thing he won't choose? Vaccines. He can't even tell his own candidates to get their shots.
He can't get his candidates vaccinated. He can't explain why he thinks it's okay for non-fully vaccinated candidates to be going to seniors' homes.
He can't even make his own candidates choose to get vaccinated.
Yeah, he can't even make his own candidates choose to get vaccinated. No, wait, they probably did choose, but they just chose not to, I assume. All of which made this stump speech by O'Toole to Conservative volunteers on Election Day Eve feel a bit uncomfortable.
So I want you in this final stretch to talk to your neighbors. Go to the Tim Hortons. Talk to the person in line with you. Distanced, of course.
Yes, if you encounter a Conservative out in the wild, definitely keep your distance because chances are they might not be vaccinated. So as Australia looks toward a post-summer election here, get ready for vaccine mandates to potentially be a huge political wedge issue. Oh no, wait, no. Craig Kelly and Clive Palmer will just take all the anti-vax votes and then funnel those preferences to Scott Morrison and the Liberals. Thanks, preferential voting. Alright then, so maybe the lesson here for Australia is that our centre-left Labor Party shouldn't be afraid of going into the election with, like, a policy. Maybe even like a very big, easy-to-explain, signature, universal cost of living policy. Like, I don't know, $10 a day childcare. That'd be pretty nice. Or, at the very least,
a new pencil for every voter.